Welcome to my corner of the internet. Ice Cream has started and I'm just loving the vibes. I mean, we're not getting banned for talking about RWBY on the anime subreddit anymore. We no longer have to just say RWBY is anime-esque since it's a full-blown official production. The set pieces are really leaning into the whole storybook and fairy tale aesthetic. There was a shout out to Black Rock Shooter, which I know Monty loved, and I mean, look at my goals. Oh my god, it's really crazy, and I love it. So far the first 3 episodes have released, although I guess officially the first 2, and we're just gonna go into discussing those. So let's just get into it. Okay, so the biggest question going into Ice Queendom is how newcomer friendly it actually is, and they do a good job in the beginning, explaining of what dust is, what ore is, what a furnace is, So they give a general idea how the water remnant works without just leaving them high and dry, at least the essentials, But the only thing that kind of seemed weird to me was that when Torchwick and Weiss both saw Ruby Petal Burst, they both kind of were like taken aback by seeing her with the semblance. It's like, you live in Remnant. I feel like you would see that on a fairly regular basis, or at least something like that, to where it's not standing out to something where it would shock you, So that was the only thing that kind of seemed weird to me. If I'm bugging, just let me know. But so the first 3 episodes recap pretty much all of Volume 1, and they do it in about under an hour when the actual runtime of Volume 1 was a little under 2, so things are moving kind of at a fast pace, which isn't too bad since I know, obviously it's canon adjacent, and there's going to be a split until they do their own thing, so it's understandable is what I'm saying. But you know what? The only thing that I can't forgive is that Jean doesn't like Pumpkin Pete. I mean, that is his whole thing. He has that onesie for a reason. He wears that hoodie for a reason. Hell, they sell it in the RT store for a reason. I don't know why they did that. I mean, I'm sorry, but Ice Queendom is literally unwatchable and it needs to be shut down shaft, okay? Sorry. You know what does suck though, if it's your first time watching, that they cut some fights, specifically the Blake and Sun versus Torchic fight at the end of Volume 1, watching some of the animation, like when Ruby's fighting those thugs or Weiss with the armor gigas, it made me hyped to see some gunchucks, and it just doesn't happen. I mean, it is literally probably the other iconic fight in Volume 1 besides what we see in Players and Pieces. I mean, talk about getting blue-balled, man. Oh my god. So if you haven't seen it, look it up, watch it, thank me later. But I really hope we get a rendition of that fight later on, just somehow, I don't know. But I need to see gunchucks animated like this, okay? I need it in my life. But I mean, fights weren't the only thing that will cut out. They cut out a lot of the smaller character interactions. We didn't really get to see Jean and Ruby's first meeting. We don't get to see Ren and Noah just talking about sloth noises to find each other in the Emerald Forest. And since this seems to be more Weiss-centric, I get that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if from losing those scenes, if it's your first time watching, I want to know, but if it's harder to see Team RWBY and Team Juniper kind of as close of friends than they actually are. But because it seems like they're moving away from a lot of the more comedic moments in general, and I know for people who watch Volume 1, way back when, and at least for me specifically, it's nostalgic for those reasons, I know myself, I have a lot of those lines memorized, stuff like Ruby going, Bodhi, no, when she gets launched off the cliff, or Penny asking if Blake was a man. It's stuff like that made Volume 1 memorable when we had to deal with shadow people and not the best animation, obviously. But it seems like they're going for a more serious tone, which I understand that, but, it's like, it kind of does feel like something from Volume 1 is lost without having that. So, I mean, it's just what we have to deal with. Now, I know I mentioned fights a little bit early on, but I just wanted to talk about it in a more broader sense. And I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to fight choreography and know nothing about animation. So if you know more, please let me know. But it seems like when comparing 2D to 3D, it seems like the 3D is more fluid. It's more fast paced. You know, it seems like there's more freedom to move the objects around in its respective dimension than it is a 2D fight. You know, and it could be why I've started seeing other anime move towards 3D models when it comes to their animations. You know, I know the recent season of Data Live did that, and a few others as well. So it's becoming a little more commonplace. You know, and I don't want to take that away from anything that we've seen in Ice Cream. You know, it's still beautiful, it's still engaging, but it just feels more like it relies more on dynamic camera angles to get their impact across. You know, then you have other things like the Players and Pieces fight, where, you know, one of my favorite things was seeing them kind of bump into each other and mess up, you know, before they finally got coordinated and were able to take out the Grimm. But, you know, they're still students, so, you know, so it shows that they had a lot to learn. You know, it's one of those little details that I just liked in the first volume, which was kind of missing here. And heck, you know, you still can't top having Red Like Roses play over RWBY dragging up that Nevermore. I mean, it was still cool here, don't get it wrong, but you still can't top the original Shaft. I'm sorry, you tried, but when that music hits, you know it's about to be lit, okay? And you can't top that. I'm sorry. Now, I do like some things that were added in to kind of expand on the first volume. You know, I mean, we are 9 volumes into RWBY proper, and I feel like there's a clear direction for the show. But back in volume 1, probably not so, you know? So it seems like a lot of the scenes that were added, and I know some people said that they were added in the manga as well, but it seems like a lot of these things that were added in are what they more had in mind when they first started out, or at least wish they could have done when they first started out. I mean, Tai seems like an actual character now. I mean, he kind of is before, but not really. You know, we see his connections with Ozpin and talking about Team Stark, which I don't even know if they've had an actual conversation in the real show. You know, we see him and Yang having those conversations about wanting RWBY to grow as a person, which they try and do in Volume 1 as well, but they more just play it off as Yang abandoning her at Beacon and go like, oh, find your way, little birdie, and that's it. You know, here it seems more emotional, you know. We also kind of get it on the flip side with Weiss as well, and we see literally every one of her main family right in the beginning. I mean, and it is more Weiss-centric, so I get it, but still, it's done well. You see what she thinks of her mom, her dad, her complicated relationship with Whitley, you know, her kind of caretaking relationship with Klein, you know, and all of those things are just the stuff that should be there to where if we were going to have this more, well, like if we were going to redo RWBY, this should be how it's done, and we should incorporate the other trails as well to have them in some meaningful way as they did this one, because like I said, it was really well done. I know they do Blake's trailer as well. The only thing I really didn't like about Blake's trailer is how Gamble Shroud moved in some scenes. You know, it's like when they had the gun on the end of the whip, it seemed very weird to me. I don't know if that was just me or not. But going back to Weiss, now I don't know if it's just that I haven't seen Volume 1 Weiss in a minute or not, but like, is she more bitchy than y'all? I mean, really? You know, she talks about only being nice to try and score points with them. You know, she ends up saving Pyrrha instead of RWBY in the Emerald Forest. So, you know, and that's kind of where their relationship started to really tone, and they started to put in started to put in an effort to be nice to each other and to actually be teammates. It's like that wasn't there, and like Ice Cream and Weiss, like I feel like Volume 1 Weiss was more prejudiced, but I feel like Ice Cream and Weiss is just like full blown racist. Like I'm sitting here like looking at myself like if I was in women, I don't think Weiss will like me too much, like I feel like she would summon some dogs on me or something. It's crazy, But moving on to some other changes, it seems like they're also intending to nerf Aura a little bit. They keep kind of hammering home how weak it is. Winter says it can only take 1 or 2 direct hits. You have Glinda asking Ruby if her aura was strong enough to fight the thugs. And there's no mention of Jean's large amounts of aura either. So I don't know if they just want to change how it works or something, but I know since this was announced and since Jin Urobuchi was announced to be working on it, a lot of people were worried, because he's on stuff like Madoka, I think Psychopaths as well. I'm not sure. Well, I think he might have been involved with Psychopaths. It's been a while. But, that got a lot of people like, oh, this could be dark and serious. So if that is the route we're going, having a weaker aura definitely will allow that to happen. All I'm saying is we're all happy that Pio's back, but don't get too happy because she might be gone just like that. Alright? And lastly, we have our OCs for this, and Shion, Zaiden, and the Nightmare Grimm. So we've already seen the Nightmare Grimm attach itself to Jean, and it's pretty interesting because it seems like it. Well, they tell us it feeds on their aura and the more emotional instability or insecurities, and it portrays itself as this reflection of them, really. And then it pretty much takes them into this nightmare realm where they're just pretty much beaten down and told they're not good enough. At least that's what it did with John. So this is obviously how we will end up getting our split, since the more aura or more emotionally unstable the person is, the bigger the Nightmare Grimm has to actually grow. And we have already seen when attached to Weiss has always seen herself, so and so episode 3 ended off with her finally getting took. That sounds weird, but I assume episode 4 is going to start with is going to start with her succumbing to the nightmares, and then us actually going into that realm so we can have our split. Shion, Zaiden, we don't know much about them yet. They're very stoic, kind of goal-oriented, and I do find it interesting that they're like a specialized huntsman. From the wiki, I think it said that their semblance was literally sending other people into dreams of into somebody else's dreams. So again, I don't they're pretty much tailored to this job. Who would have knew? OCs, right? But I don't really think anybody else could do their job dealing with Nightmare Grimm. And their whole their outfit's kind of interesting. They have they have a dream catcher as the weapon. When it comes to illusions, the running theory I've seen, and I don't know if this has been confirmed yet, but the running theory is that they're based on Sleeping Beauty. Again, with the whole dream themes going on. Their outfit looks a lot like the a lot like the fairy godmothers in Sleeping Beauty. The thorns that the Nightmare Grimms cause seems to be, the magic Maleficent kind of encased Sleeping Beauty's castle in. Don't know how true that is, but, like I said, running theory, I like it. And that's just pretty much where we are moving forward. I really hope Ice Queendom just does well, because I would love to have 2D RWBY just running alongside 3D RWBY and just seeing where that'll take us. Hopefully an actual RWBY fighting game, Arc System, wink wink, nudge nudge, get on it please. But yeah, so just tell me what you think about it, what you liked, what you hated, what you think it did better than the original, what it did worse than the original. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.